Yo. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, it's official. Yeah, it's official. Bells and YUSUF are back. Yo! See ya. I've been telling you all that those two are still attracted to each other. I've been telling you all that they're not done with each other yet. I've been telling you all that they will still find their way to each other. Yup. And that was exactly what they did. You see, the moment I saw them having that court hearing, with other housemates present as witnesses, the moment I listened to Bells, tell her own side of the story and in a way sort of exposed YUSUF to the whole house, I knew instantly that YUSUF had lost that game, whatever it was. I knew instantly that they were going to come back to each other. And that's exactly what the situation is right now. As I last night, or should I say the early hours of this morning, these two were not only kissing. I mean, hey, I put my hands up and I say, yes, I actually enjoy it when they kiss. Yeah, they're really good kissers. Yeah, especially YUSUF, all the hand movements and all the gesticulations and the way his neck turns. Yeah, we know. But they took it a top notch higher. They were dry humping. See, the conji in Big Brother's house, guys. Hey, I can't even say anything. If not for the cameras, you and I know what would have happened. Yeah, you and I know. Don't pretend like you don't know. You're not a baby. You're not a child. You and I know what would have happened. Yeah, but, Bells and YUSUF did what Bells and YUSUF enjoys doing in the middle of the night. Mommy and daddy things. Yeah, they did that. But yeah, it's official. They're back now. And let's see how it goes this time around. Let's see. Because at the moment, let's not forget that there's still a bit of interest towards Godessa from YUSUF. YUSUF likes Godessa. He has told Araga last night, we're going to come to that conversation. But it was just like a bro code type of thing. Oh, I liked this girl at the first time. We'll talk about that conversation. Yeah. So YUSUF is attracted to Araga, or rather Godessa. Yeah. So question now is, now that he's back with Bells, is he going to make a move on Godessa? Because Godessa wants to be chased by as many guys as possible in the house. She wants Barry to chase her because Barry told her he likes her and he likes her voice. She wants YUSUF to chase her. So that night when YUSUF and Bells broke up and YUSUF had called her to confide in her, ever since she's been sort of, let me say, blocking. Like whenever she sees that maybe Bells wants to talk to YUSUF or the other way around, she would sort of block it and say, oh, don't do this, don't do that, sort of trying to control the situation. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm just keeping my eyes on these people. I want to say, if YUSUF is going to remain faithful to Bells as he always had been in the house, or he's not going to be sharing his attention between Bells and Godessa. What do you think? Are you happy? Are you really, really excited that you're back? Let me know in the comment section below. Anyways, moving on to other conversations and events that unfolded in Big Brother's house yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a massive, massive congratulations from me to Barry and Sheba on emerging the super commandos of the season. Yes, they won the task and oh my God, it was such a moment. Sheba literally did not even know that she had won, representing the females. She did not know that she had won. By the time she knew, she was so excited. Her joy was infectious. Yes. And even though I was quite happy for both of them that won, I was really sad for Chimsom Chuka and Flora. Oh my God, my Shayla. Guys, I was so sad for Flora because, as the gambit, in a way, I've just been sort of rooting for her to win as many tasks as she can, just to console herself that, okay, Um, Even though I'm not gonna get the main prize, at least there are other prizes that I can have, right? And Super Commando task is such a huge one. I remember that in previous seasons, it even comes with like a 1 year contract to influence for the brand, yeah, to be the brand ambassador for 1 year. I remember the likes of Sasuke, the likes of New, the likes of Cross the Boss. They really, oh, Erica as well. They really, really enjoyed the endorsement deal with this particular brand. So I was really hoping for, Flora to get something, right? Although I must admit, I was really surprised that she made it to the end, like she made it to the finals. I was really, really surprised, yes. But still, she put her best foot in and she tried her best. She really tried. As a matter of fact, the 4 finalists, none of them even got the puzzle right at the end, like the final stage of the challenge. None of them got it right. However, Biggie had to pick from the 2 people who were closest to getting it right. So yeah, once again, massive congratulations to Barry and Shiba. Now, even though the whole house was happy for these 2 people, Chimsom Chuka was not particularly happy. Yeah, and he was literally asking Biggie a question, at the end after Big Brother had announced the winners, was asking Big Brother, oh, Big Brother, you said that after 10 minutes, everybody should raise their hands up. I did, but Barry did not, other people did not, but Big Brother had to clear him that no, Barry actually raised his hand. And you see, Chinso was so sad. He was so sad. And I totally get where he was coming from. However, his fellow housemates, for some weird reason, they were happy that he did not win. They were happy that at least this time, someone else won. And that was the same reaction Chimsom had got on Monday during the Head of House challenge when Neche had won. The guy was literally telling people that, oh, he had to let Neche win. But what the housemates saw was Chimsom's hands shaking already by holding whatever they were holding, in the final challenge. So last night was just the same thing, was the same reaction. His fellow housemates, they were happy that he lost, that someone else actually won, and that person was Barry, because nobody even thought that Barry could even win it. Yeah, because Chimsom had actually bragged to everyone in the house that he's quite athletic, he's very, very fast, he's a good swimmer. He had mentioned all the sports that he's a pro at, right? And he had challenged all of them, like literally bragged to all of them that if put together to compete in certain types of sports, that he was going to beat all of them hands down. And so the line had been drawn between Chimsom Chuka and the rest of the house. And that is the reason every time he loses in the arena, it's like a general excitement. Everybody is happy that he loses, Now, during that sponsor task, yeah, before I forget, let me mention this. During that sponsor task, there was something I had noticed in that arena. You see, I think there were 3 stages to the challenge, and a few people had made it to the second round. Now, Neche was one of those people, just as Shiba was also one of those people. And Neche had been called upon to go play her turn. So she had stood up, was taking off her mic, preparing herself to go play her turn. Now, where they had sat, there was Neche, there was Nomy, there was Kamsi, and then there was Godessa and Araga. I think Araga was there, yeah. Now, the moment Neche had stood up to prepare herself to go play her turn, Godessa was looking at, oh my God, the way Godessa was staring at Neche, was staring at Neche like this. Ah! I looked at this girl, and I'm like, what was that for? Why? That was diabolical. Why the stank look? I mean, I know that Shiba is Godessa's friend, blah, 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 blah. But then I personally read a lot of meaning to that. Because if you had seen one of my videos I put out the other day, I'd mentioned that both Shiba, Araga, Godessa, they have been deliberately disrespectful to Neche's head of house reign. Whenever she calls for a meeting, they are more like the last to appear in the lounge. They take their time with everything. Sometimes Neche would call and shout for people to come to the lounge. But guess what? They will stay where they are. It is at that point in time they will know that, oh, they have one important gossip to share. Or that is when Araga and Godessa will know that they want to settle their lovers' tiff. It is so irritating. Even though it's a strategy, they've done it so much since Monday. Today is, another day. They have done it so much. It has become so irritating. And they are deliberately doing it. Araga sometimes tries to adjust. But you see Sheba and Godessa especially, they do it deliberately. Now, it's not even a matter of, oh, Godessa has knee problems or what. No, this is different. It's like a deliberate attempt to disrespect the head of house and to sabotage the task. So, the way Godessa was staring at Neche, it was quite cringe. Because I was thinking, wait, is there something you're not telling us? Because during her diary session, she had said nice things about Neche. But then, what she was acting out in the house alongside her loyalist, it was an entirely different narrative from what she was sharing in the diary room. Because for me, if there was a problem, she would have told Big Brother in the diary room, but there's no problem between she and this girl. So when Sheba was declared winner, if you see the way she was happy for Sheba, you could see the shade that she was kind of stylishly extending to Neche. But Neche was not catching it. Neche was not seeing it. Chai! But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, once again, massive congratulations to Sheba and Barry on emerging the winners of that sponsor task. Super excited for them. Super excited for them. Now, speaking of Godessa and her crew, this time around, the three of them, including Tram, after the whole sponsor task, they were out in the garden and they were talking about Nomy. Yeah. Godessa was telling them that, oh, Nomy was turning and looking at her whilst the challenge was ongoing. And then she would turn and whisper something to Kamsi. And then both of them would laugh. That she was catching some subtle shades, And I'm like, okay. Then she went on to talk about Nomy's rudeness to Big Brother. And you see, Tram found it quite funny. Because for Tram, he knew that Godessa and what's her name now, Nomy, were quite close, that they were close friends, including Sheba herself. So he was saying that you guys are hypocrites, and I'm just laughing at this whole thing. You know, like I thought you people were friends, I thought you people were cool, you people talk to each other. And Godessa was like, yeah, that Nomy talks to her. Nomy talks to her. But then that day in the arena, that's on Monday, when Big Brother was giving her instructions on how to execute her punishment, you know, the moment she was like, but you didn't answer my question, that she and the other person sitting beside her, they were quite shocked. And then later on, Nomy had come to her and said, but he didn't answer my question. You know, what did I do? What am I doing wrong? And Godessa said she had asked Nomy, do you want an honest answer to your question? And Nomy said yes. And then she said she had to be blunt with Nomy. Then what is it that you do not understand? How can you be asking me that kind of question? Don't you know that there are ways that you can ask him questions or even address him, that he would have mercy on you and reduce your punishment? So she and Sheba, they were just going on and on and on about Nomy's attitude, her rude and disrespectful manner, you know, towards addressing Big Brother, and even the way she is, you know, executing her punishment. So everybody literally has just gotten really tired of Nomy's nonsense, you know. Araga too was saying that the only thing is just hello, hi. For him, her energy is quite draining. He can't be, you know, somebody that's fighting every day. They can't deal. They can't deal. And we're talking about the only person in the house that has really connected with Nomy, which is Cassie. And then we're also talking about the fact that in the arena, when Nomy was playing her turn during that sponsor task, Cassie was the only person that was, you know, cheering her on and rooting for her. And I saw that whole thing play out. Even when she was done, Cassie was the only person that extended a hand to give her a high five. I think she was expecting to give a high five to someone else, but there was nobody else, and then she had walked away to go and sit down. So in the midst of all of those housemates, she sort of felt isolated. And to be quite honest, ladies and gentlemen, did I feel bad for her? Absolutely not. Because she started playing that game of isolation from week one. And now people have just literally stopped trying. Like they've gotten tired of trying to talk to her since she's always moving away from people. So now Nomy is the one who tries to join group conversations, especially groups where her previous friends are not a part of. Moving on, next conversation was between Temi and Gerard. Ladies and gentlemen, before I move on to this conversation, I actually saw a video on social media that showed that Gerard is actually a pilot. Yup, a pilot. All right. I just thought I should drop that out there. All right. But yeah, back to the conversation. I told you all on my previous video where I analyzed Housemates diary session that Temi had a very emotional diary session. In fact, the usual style of Temi's diary session, an emotional roller coaster. It's either she's yelling or she's being funny or she's being naughty or she's crying or she's trying to share an emotional story, that would cause her to cry. Because in every Temi's diary session now, she must shed tears. It's the icing on the cake. Without the tears, the diary session is not over. Yeah. But anyways, she had decided after that diary session to try to open up to one or two persons in the house. And so she chose Gerard. The reason for that, I do not know. And I'm going to make sure I find out, yeah? So she was telling Gerard, or rather explaining to Gerard, that the reason why she had reacted the way she had reacted the night where she had had issues with Sultex was because every time she hears conversations about death or people playing about that topic, death, that she gets really triggered. She had had the same type of conversation before with Chimsom, which was quite interesting, but we'll get to that. So she had shared two stories with Gerard. First, she had shared that, an interesting fact about her is that at the age of 14, 15, she had enrolled for a 6 months to 1 year Cambridge program. And she had studied law in that program. She had the opportunity to proceed to study law afterwards with reference from a professor, but she had chosen not to go ahead with it because she did not want to study law. That was the first one. She said the second interesting fact about her is that at the age of 16, that bathroom incident that she had actually shared about her mom in her first diary session? Yeah, secondary session. She had shared it. And yeah, that was what they talked about. So to be quite honest, yeah, when she had shared those two interesting facts about her with Gerald, I was wondering, like, is she trying to invest in Gerald's emotional bank to get Gerald to really pity her, to, just like Godessa and Sheba and Araga are already doing, to also see her as the baby of the house, that she needs pampering, that she needs love and attention? Is she trying to add him to his list of bed sitters, or rather babysitters, people that are going to be talking her in bed every night? Is that what she's aiming for? And lastly, is Gerard the kind of guy that's going to even want to do such? I mean, ladies and gentlemen, these were all the questions I was asking myself, and I'm thinking, if that's what she's aiming at, then that's a genius idea, or rather a plan. Because it's currently working in our favor with the likes of Gerard, Godessa, and Araga. Although it's not like they actually saved her during nominations anyways, because that's the aim. But then what do you think about that, ladies and gentlemen? What do you think about that? Now, moving on to the next conversation. This one is between Araga and YUSUF. Both of them have found a friendship. Yeah. They found mutual understanding. They found a connection between each other. They have found, should I say, companionship between each other. YUSUF had shared with Big Brother during his diary session on Tuesday that he lost the conversation he has with Araga and Godessa and sometimes Sheba, that it's more mature, that they are genuinely interested in him. And rather than being judgmental to his stories, that they are more curious and encouraging, towards him, that they also have a lot of things in common. So he was telling Araga that he loves what they have and he wants a friend whom they can ride hard together to the end of the show. That was what he wanted with Martins. But Martins was having this emotional breakdown. Martins was always talking about how he was exhausted and he wanted to leave the show. That what he auditioned for was not what he was getting in the house. He actually expected maybe more, something different, and he wanted to go home, he wanted to leave the house. That he found himself constantly trying to talk Martins out of those thoughts in his head. And so he was just exhausting for him. That sometimes Martins would then decide, okay, he doesn't want to leave anymore. But then later on, Martins would say he wants to leave the house. He wants to leave the house. And guys, hearing that for the first time, it was just really sad. Because I remember, the Sunday, I think that was last week Sunday, after YUSUF and Bells had broken up Saturday night, then the next day, Sunday, Bells was packing up her box. She said she wanted to take a voluntary exit. And Martins was asking her why, and she was explaining, giving her reasons. And then Martins had made a statement where he had said that, oh, at least he has finally found someone that has the courage, to want to leave. Maybe he too will find his own courage to also want to take a voluntary exit. So when he had said that, I thought he was joking. I did not think that he had also been struggling mentally and emotionally to remain in the house. And I said, no wonder, even though he's quite jovial, sometimes you see him, in his own space, in his own head. You see him with this faraway look on his face, like he's thinking really far and wide, like he wants to leave. Really sad that someone will go through all what they went through doing auditions, and then they come into the house and finally everything does not meet up to their expectations, and then they just want to leave. Felt really bad for him. Really bad. But anyways, still back to the conversation between YUSUF and Araga. Araga was, agreeing with everything that YUSUF was saying. And then they came to the subject of Godessa, where YUSUF was saying that, oh, the first time he saw Godessa, that he was not really into her. Araga too was telling the story of his own first impression about Godessa. And then both guys agreed that they were both attracted to her from the very get-go. Okay, maybe not from the very get-go, but maybe from the second day after she wiped off her makeup. They both agreed that, oh, she's beautiful. And YUSUF was like, oh, before he would make his move, Araga already made his move. And so they laughed and shook hands. The moment YUSUF said that, I wondered, like, is this YUSUF giving Araga a hint that he not only finds Godessa attractive, but he just might want to also make a move on her? Because speaking of the same Godessa, yeah, she was complaining to Sheba that she was getting frustrated with Araga constantly complaining about other guys having highs on her. The other guys like her. That she doesn't, or he doesn't like it. And that person is Barry, rather YUSUF. Oh, there's also Barry in the picture. So according to what she was telling Sheba, why is she comfortable wanting to be friends with a guy that actually likes her? Because for him, it doesn't really make sense. Now for Godessa, what is there? Is she supposed to be friends with somebody that does not like her? She was sort of making a case for herself. And Sheba was also defending her, telling her what she wants to hear. Telling her that, oh, yeah, that in this house, they are not even much in the house. 10 girls, 11 girls, and probably 11 guys. So what is wrong in, people telling people that they like each other? So Godessa was just really upset at the whole situation. Because for her, it means that Araga does not trust her. He doesn't trust her enough to believe that she's an adult who is old enough to be able to control herself or build her boundaries, because he is not the one that's going to build boundaries for her. She's the one that will build boundaries for herself. She's the one that will tell herself that, okay, this is what you can do and this is what you should not be doing in the house. So she was just going on and on and on complaining. And you see, ladies and gentlemen, listening to her complain, I just told myself, well, girl, you are just looking for a free pass to flirt with these other guys. And Araga is, kind of made in terms of him showcasing his personality in the house. However, the guy is not dumb. He's quite smart. He sees what she's doing. He sees the moves she's making, but he's voicing out his concerns. He's letting her know that, look, I see what's going on. I see what you're doing. So don't think I'm too dumb to even notice. And it's frustrating her that the guy is on her neck, not giving her breathing space. Now, the question I would ask Godessa if I had the chance to talk to her is, if this guy is frustrating you so much, why don't you just break things off with him and then go latch on to other guys whose attention you seek? Why are you still with Araga? Because you're making it look like the guy has changed you, held you bound, tied your hands and tied your legs. You cannot leave if you want to leave. Why are you still there if you feel that frustrated? Or she just rather enjoys all of the attention that the raga is showering on her, and she wants an equal amount of attention from Barry and Yusuf. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Please let me know in the comment section below. Now, moving on. Still speaking about the Araga, Godessa, and Shiba's friendship, especially between Araga. Now, still on Araga and Godessa, ladies and gentlemen, there was a conversation between Abby and, was it Bluethopia, out in the garden. Abby was sharing with Bluethopia the reason she can no longer be friends with Araga and Godessa. According to her, they never really spoke to her that much. They never really gave her the time or day, to have conversations. But whenever she's in the kitchen cooking, they'll just come to her, oh, Abby, what are you cooking? Especially Araga. Oh, what are you cooking? I'll eat, that kind of thing. According to her, they literally turned her into their chef. She had to read the room and realized that, well, it seems like this is how it's going to be. So she decided to just give them space because she's nobody's chef. You can't be eating my food all the time, getting me to cook for you all the time. But when it comes to other things, you do not really regard me. You don't really see me as I see you as friends. That thing they say about you can be friends with someone, but do they really regard you as friend? That's the situation, So she was just going on and on, sharing with Bluethopia. Bluethopia, I'm sorry, but Bluethopia was sort of struggling on how to even advise Abby in that situation. It was just funny, yeah. But yeah, I totally understood where Abby is coming from, because as it is currently, it seems like they've forgotten about Abby's existence. And last week Sunday, the same Araga had a conversation with Abby because both of them were actually friends from week 1. Yeah. And Abby and Godessa used to be at loggerheads with each other. So Araga brought both of them together to become friends. But I don't even know where things even went wrong. Godessa now is closer to Shiba. Seems like they've sort of removed Abby from the picture. So that conversation they had last week Sunday, Araga was telling Abby that, they no longer talk together, that, they should be friends. Remember, you and I were friends before I was friends with Godessa, I was sort of encouraging her that they should be friends. They should talk more. But that has not really been happening that much. So for Abby, she can't really be putting in that much effort anymore where the same effort is not being reciprocated. She will just have to just move on and look elsewhere for friendship. Now, finally, for this video, Neche, ladies and gentlemen, housemates are still frustrating Neche. Yeah, they're still frustrating ahead of house Rain. Flora is frustrated as well because she's seeing what's happening. She is still complaining that the likes of Godessa especially is making Neche's head of house Rain really, really exhausting for Neche. And so yesterday, when they were rehearsing late into the night, Neche was so overwhelmed, she literally broke down, ran upstairs and was crying in the bedroom, in one of the rooms. That's the blue room. She was crying. She cried and cried and cried. And then she came back downstairs, just after she felt okay. And I felt really bad for her. Because the state of the house at the moment, currently, it's not that great in terms of food supplies. And if they lose their wager this week, next week is going to be bloody for all of them. They think they've seen hunger this week. Next week is going to enter into starvation. And they don't even know that yet. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to stop talking here right now. Would love to hear your thoughts on all I have shared on this video. So please go ahead and share. I'll see you guys on another episode of Frankly Speaking with Bbnaija. Thanks for watching. Have an amazing day.